This is happiness, to be everything at once. Be unblinded, be unlearned, be unbridled and unburned.
Hey everyone, and welcome back to a brand new episode of Mood Prep. My name is Dave Nixon, and today I've got a little reminder for any person out there who may be struggling. Now, they're struggling in many different ways. This could be in a way of struggling in pursuit of a goal they have. It could be mentally struggling. Hey, like, sometimes we forget the ebbs and flows. Like, it's easy to say, oh, you know, there's ebbs and flows when we're in the flow, but when we're in the ebb, sometimes it can feel overwhelming. We definitely have a responsibility in how we're creating that that sort of reality for ourselves. However, if you are struggling, it does not mean that you are failing. It's one of the most important things that we have to understand is that if we are struggling, it's normal. It's okay. There's going to be a birth from this struggle. We have to learn the lesson through the struggle. It does not mean that we are either failing or that we're a failure. And so on the other side of struggle can more often be freedom. It can be leveling up. It can be learning, right? But we have to go through the struggle. The more that we attempt to avoid the struggle, the longer it stays with us. We have to understand it, understand why we do it, accept it, usually integrate it into our personality and integrate personality into our very being. And then with that, and I'll explain that in a moment, but then with that, we start to show up as we are and start to be able to choose how we want to show up in the moment, not show up as we were. And so what I mean by integrating things into our personality, it's like more often than not, the struggles that we create around us are personal struggles, and often are the things that we're trying to ignore about ourselves. Maybe it's avoiding something that we're not good at so we don't feel faulty, right? And therefore, ignoring that thing, we get exposed because we're not strong in that area of development, whatever it may be. It could be to do with business and marketing. It could be to do with dealing with feedback. There's a whole different range of things it could really deal with. But taking all that into account, the powerful thing is that when we turn and face and understand and be clear about what the actual difficulty of the situation is, and when we can really start seeing that for what it is rather than what we think we are, we can accept it, see the positive intention behind why we're doing the poor behavior, the unresourceful behavior, and in doing so, it kind of dissolves. And from there, we now start to really get power. Now no longer does that thought have us. We have the ability to choose our thought and choose how we want to show up and respond in that moment. And a lot of the time, this is fucking difficult for a lot of people, for all of us, really, because we have to turn to pain. We have to turn towards the pain. It's like, well, I put things off because I just don't think I'm good enough. That's the reality of it. It's like, right. So what makes you think you're not good enough? What is the measurement? What's good enough? And we start to get to the details of the actual situation. And when we can do that, right, we can start to realize the rules that we have made for ourselves in our mind. And when we get clear on those rules, we can start to see whether those rules still apply or whether those rules are congruent with what your true calling is, or your true purpose, your North Star, whatever it is that you want to call it, right? Because it's all coding for our mental, like, mapping, basically, right? It's all coding. And when we can see the coding, we can change it. We can get rid of it. So we're not just reacting to situations, but we're actually showing up and choosing how to respond in those situations. And that's true autonomous power, right? To be able to be in the moment and then choose how to respond in that moment, as opposed to being had by old fears, had by old frames, had by old criticisms. And then those old criticisms are showing up through us in that moment. It's a big difference. It's interesting when we start to really look, and this is one of the things I love studying, when observing people that I either look up to or are doing exceptionally well in their area, whatever that may be. The undeniable self-belief that these people have and confidence in themselves is phenomenal. And I think some people think that they have to achieve something and then be confident. It's like No, you don't have to fake it to make it either. It's not about either one of those. It's about being brutally honest about where you're at and maintaining hope and confidence about improving throughout the future. When we discount where we're at, when we berate where we're at and compare to where we think we should be or where other people are, then we stay in that gap. We continually stay below, let's say, par, which is in service of attempting to try and recognize where we want to be and see the gap between where we are, and then basically notify ourselves that we're below par, and so we stay there, right? So, if as long as we continue to wait to achieve something, and then I'll be confident, you'll always be dependent upon other people or external circumstances to be confident and wage your self-worth on external circumstances. The key thing that these high performers or these people that we maybe look up to in many different areas is that they don't do that. Their self-worth is unconditional. Their confidence, the reason why they've got so good is because they're confident. Not that they became confident because they were good. Different way to think about it. They became good because they were confident. Confidence on confidence on confidence on confidence. But they kept going. They went through the struggle and they could learn to back themselves to get through anything. And so in doing that, they don't rely just on talent or skill. They understand every day is training, right? So every day then is simply just life and living and unfolding. As opposed to when I get here, then I'll be confident and then people will know me and then I'll get the money and then I'll get the girls, then I'll get the boys, then I'll be loved, whatever it may be. See, we must first be it and behave in a way that is congruent towards whatever it is, right? And then we unfold from that process, not the other way around. It's the same as conditional happiness. When this happens, then I'll be happy. No. When I'm happy, these things happen, right? Big difference, really big difference. And so the power here is catching ourselves. Once again, it's awareness, is catching ourselves when we're creating conditions on our self-worth, our self-confidence, or our confidence in our ability, right? It's when we're creating conditions on our happiness. These things must occur in order for us to be happy, right? In order for me, for you, whoever, to be happy. But the powerful thing through all this is understanding the struggle's normal. Everyone gets a struggle. Depends on how you want to make sense of it. Are you going to move through it? Are you going to attempt to avoid it and you can't avoid it? Or are you going to work through it and come out the other side? Because when you come out the other side, you level up. Whatever that means for you. And on that note, team, I am done. If you found this podcast beneficial, it would mean the world to me if you'd pass it on to someone else that you think would also find it beneficial. And if you haven't already, the Facebook community on Mood Prep community on Facebook. I'll see you guys in there, team. I'm out until tomorrow. Peace and pizza. Kick today in the dick. Slay the dragon. I'll see you soon.
To be everything at once, be unblinded, be unlearned, be unbridled and unburned.